This is a video about Rasa Viharii. He's a guy that claims to be a PhD astrophysicist.
I was studying astrophysics in Portland State University, 2008. Oregon. I moved to China, and I was working in some free energy research in China, 2008, 2009, 2010, and I left to China. And then I came back to China in 2015, and again, I was doing this free energy research.
Yeah, and like all real scientists that work for the Chinese government or work for a private company that works for the Chinese government, he publishes his research results on a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel called the 0 Point Institute, right, where I've been putting my scientific experiments, for many, many years there on that YouTube channel.
And you can go there and you can see Russ's battery-powered perpetual motion machine, and you can see Rasa standing on the roof of some building out in the middle of nowhere, waving some sort of ball around. Not convincing Rasa that you're not just a crank. So, yeah, you're the guy that does free energy experiments in your mum's basement, and you're working in China, and then the Chinese government contacts you, and then you travel to some secret meeting with all these Chinese officials, and then you're the guy that can explain to the Chinese scientists how they've got a 400% over unity machine.
What happened was I was in China again doing my scientific experiments and research, and then all of a sudden I got a call from the Chinese government, and they said, how soon can you get to Shanghai? I said, well, I can jump on a train now. So I got on the train, and I ended up in this dinner meeting between many government officials. And they said, oh, we've heard that you have a lot of experience in this so-called free energy or 0 point energy. Yeah. So I was invited to work for in a private company. Okay. And this is a very high up government people.
And check the host out. He's quite indifferent to this whole thing. I think he's bored shitless. He's heard all this sort of bullshit before. He's not buying it, mate. He's not buying it. You can just see in his head, he's saying, yeah, cool story, bro. Yeah.
Okay, so what happened was, so again, this was 2015. So I agreed to work for this private company. And the guy said, look, we have a machine which we don't know how it's working or why it's working, but it is working. Okay, so that machine was a heater. Okay, there's a refrigerant gas which you can heat up, and the scientists at the top university in China said that according to the math, the amount of heat this thing is giving off is more than the amount of electricity we're sending in. It's 4 times more heat than physics can calculate. So where is this extra heat coming from? So then I started to explain that this is called the quantum efficiency. So if you ever go to Wikipedia, you could search the word quantum efficiency. Okay.
The term quantum efficiency may apply to incident photon to converted electron IPCE ratio of a photosensitive device, or it may refer to the TMR effect of a magnetic junction.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, I was the one who wrote that.
Yeah, cool story, bro. Yeah, like this actually happened.
I also have another NASA employee friend who we discussed the suppression of free energy. So he works in the NASA Department of Free Energy, and I even asked him once about this.
The Free Energy Department at NASA. Yeah, sure, Rasa.
And it's kind of a long story. I started a trend in the scientific community of cross-field merging.
Listen to the narcissist there, claiming that he's the person that invented cross-disciplinary approach in science.
Why I took up the job with the Chinese Space Agency is because maybe this will help pressure NASA.
And you'll see that Rasa has difficulty comprehending the English language here. He doesn't understand that when this person says many people, he's not talking about himself. He's not saying that I think that the Apollo program wasn't real. He's saying many people think the Apollo program wasn't real, which is a true statement. And when he says it's almost unbelievable that they could make a docking of the lunar module in cislunar orbit, he's not saying it is impossible. It's just saying he's saying it's very difficult, and it seems like it's almost impossible.
You know that many people doubt about whether the Apollo program is true or not. One thing is that that in 1960s or 1970s, It's almost
That's about half a century
unbelievable
ago.
that the human being can conduct a docking in the cislunar orbit.
So that's why just recently, a few days ago, yesterday, the other scientist came out and said many people believe that the Apollo missions were fake.
Hey, Rasa, if you really did work and had worked for the Chinese government and all these high-powered things, and you were shipped to Beijing to work on free energy, and you're all big in the Chinese scientific community, you wouldn't be calling the scientist, the Chinese scientist, the other scientist. You'd know his goddamn name. You're full of shit, mate. He, in a live stream, he forgot that weight is, or the mass of an object is irrelevant in determining its rate of acceleration in a gravitational field.
All I'm saying is you're saying this is a proof it was filmed on the moon, and I'm saying this is not proof it was filmed on the moon, because this could easily be faked on Earth.
How would it have been faked on the Earth? And you can't even answer that question.
You drop a hammer and a fake feather, which fall at the same time, and then you tell people, oh, this is the film rate.
Okay, and what would the actual frame rate need to be then?
Right. So the NASA tells you the frame rate
right.
is 29.7 frames per second,
Yeah.
and you use that to calculate that this is gravity on Earth.
Yes,
right?
yes, on the moon. On the moon.
So
Yeah.
you have the variables, the weight of the feather, the speed of the gravity.
There's no weight. There's no weight involved. Right, do you think that there's a weight? The weight of the feather would be involved in that, and the weight of the hammer would be involved?
Of course. But that's it's a very
Wait,
very small.
You've never done kinematics, have you? Mr. Physicist has never done kinematics equations.
I have, but anyway, this is kind of
your claims of credentials are kind of falling apart there.
Claiming you're an astrophysicist, Rasa, that doesn't fit with the rest of your story. The story where you're some sort of expert on quantum energy, on energy physics. So yes, I think you've given the game away. I think the reason why you claimed you're an astrophysicist is because you know nothing about science, and you could only think of one scientist that you actually know, and that's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he happens to be an astrophysicist, which is why you chose astrophysics as the fake, as the made-up science field you're in. You're obviously not a scientist. You're just a crank, and you have a PhD in nothing.
So we've got two different shadow lengths. His shadow is much shorter than his shadow. And the reason why that's possible is because when you're standing under a stage light, the person who's closer to the stage light will have a longer shadow than the person not standing so directly under the stage light.
Look at the diagram he's showing there when he's talking about this. What a liar. He's got the first arrow from the light is touching the astronaut's head and it hits the ground, but he hasn't drawn the shadow at the end of that. He's drawn that shadow miles away from where the line from the light that hits the head is. And the other guy that's further away, he hasn't drawn the line through the head. So this is how you would diagram this. You've got rays coming out of the light source, and you have them touch the astronaut's head, and then the rays touch the ground, and that's where you draw the shadow between the foot of the astronaut to where the ray touches the ground. So not like he did here in this other image, where he's got the first ray there. It is touching the astronaut's head, but where it touches the ground, he hasn't drawn a shadow. He's drawn the shadow way, way away. And on the second guy, he's got the ray cutting through the astronaut's middle, and again, he doesn't draw the shadow on the ground touching the end of that ray. So he's just fudged the whole thing. What an idiot. So basically, Russ is just a garden variety crank. Russ is not his real name, by the way. But Russ is just a garden variety crank, right down to making pretty sick and baseless accusations to people when he doesn't get his own way and when people call him out on his bullshit. Basically, he's a cunt.